Group D has Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, and Paraguay. Where do we start?
Brazil, man. I think we have to.
Brazil.
We absolutely have to. Shout out Brazil. They're so interesting because I have never seen a team get so affected by getting knocked out of a tournament. I've never seen it, bro. That game against Croatia, where Brazil dramatically lost at the death to a very good Croatian side, destroyed that team. Brazilians, even afterwards, when they went back to their clubs, weren't the same for a couple months. And we've seen the results that Brazil have gotten these past couple months in World Cup qualifying. Dude, they're mid-table. It is bizarre seeing the Brazilian flag in the middle of a South American table. It doesn't look right. But that's what happened, man. And it makes sense because the way Brazil were playing going into that World Cup, oh my God. They disrespected themselves by not getting the semifinals.
Yeah, and all football fans and all lovers of the game disrespected us, slapped us in the face.
Slapped us in the face. And I think it makes sense that it affected them so deeply because they knew that they should have gone to the semis. And at that point, they probably believed that they would have gone to the final.
Argentina, Brazil final. They robbed us.
They robbed us.
Not the Croatians, the Brazilians.
The Brazilians did.
They should have closed that game out.
Exactly. Croatia did what any team would have done. It's Brazil's fault entirely. And so that's why I think Brazil have been in this really weird mode and this really weird run of poor form. Chiche, right, obviously left after that World Cup. And I think when he left, also the spirit of that Brazilian team also left because he embodied that team so well, man. In comes Fernando Diniz as the caretaker, and it just didn't work at all whatsoever. So much so that right at the end of the year, they get Dorival Jr., the Sao Paulo man, to take over as either caretaker or as permanent manager. Who knows at this point with Brazil? Their manager situation is always so weird, but that's Brazil. But here's the thing. I think very similar to teams like Germany, they can change their fate on a dime.
Like that, bro. Brazil, like that, man. Like that.
And it's because they have some of the best talent in the world.
And it's as simple as them just turning it on and being like, you know what? Let's ball out.
Let's ball out.
And they have the capabilities. That's why my biggest question for this Brazilian team is that this six game run of form that we've seen specifically in World Cup qualification. We've never seen anything like it in our lifetime. I'm 28 years old. I've never seen Brazil have 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses over 6 games.
Yeah.
Which just says so much about the history, the tradition of Brazil, but also about where they're at right now. Are they as bad as that record says, though? And that's something I struggle with because it's very early on in World Cup qualification. I don't want to get carried away. But in some of these losses, bro, they've looked bad. They've looked bad. And against Argentina at home, they look completely inferior. And that really says a lot because if they want any chance of lifting silverware once again here at the Copa America, that's who they're going to have to get past. And they have not shown us the signs of having the capabilities of being able to do that. So, yeah, you could say that the players are going to turn it up and that they're going to show up and they're going to ball out. But what is the maximum ceiling of that? Is it still getting kicked out in the semifinals against a really good team? Or is it losing to Argentina once again in the final? I'm scared to say that I believe that it's going to the final and losing to Argentina.
Yeah.
Even if they find their form, I still think this Argentina team finds a way to best this Brazilian side.
Agreed. If it is an Argentina-Brazil final, I'm going Argentina 99 out of 100 times. Like, even though Brazil has such good players, I mean, we're talking about Ballon d'Or contender Vinicius Jr., maybe one of the youngest, bright players in the world right now, and Endrick, who could come off the bench. Rafinha's playing really good football with FC Barcelona this season. He'll be on the right wing. The midfield's pretty stacked. There's just some questions maybe in the back line, but overall, this Brazilian squad has talent and world-class talent at that. But you're right. I think their overall form will result in a limitation, and that limitation is I just don't have Brazil as favorites. They're title contenders for sure, but I think Argentina, for me, are the only team where I'm definitively saying they are my favorites to win the tournament.
Brazil is a 9-time Copa America winner in 3rd place in total titles. Other guys you forgot to mention: Alisson, Marquinhos, Bremer, Gabriel, Bruno Guimaraes, Lucas Paqueta, Martinelli, Rodrigo, Vini Jr. No Gabriel Jesus this time. They introduced Endrick into the team, and I think he's ultimately going to become his replacement, for being honest. No Gabriel Jesus in this team. And then there's still questions regarding the fullback position yet again.
Yep.
Who starts in those fullback positions? Is it Jan Cuoto or is it Danilo? And on the other side, is it Arana or is it Wendell from FC Porto? And then a big thing that stood out to me is the quality of the midfield, at least in terms of names, I think has dropped off significantly from what it was in the past, with Andreas Pereira getting the call-up, Douglas Luiz, who is really good, Joao Gomez, Lucas Paqueta, Ederson, and Bruno Guimaraes. It's very good, right? It's good in the context of world football, but for Brazil specifically, I mean, Casemiro isn't here anymore. You got these big names that are missing now. Yeah. I think it's actually a bit indicative of how much the midfield has fallen recently.
Yeah, it's way less flair, but I think they kind of make up for it because a lot of the players in that midfield are maybe a little bit more aggressive, maybe a little bit more box to box. I would like to see Bruno Guimaraes alongside Ederson, who went off for Atalanta these last 6 months. And he's been going off there for the last 2 seasons now, but his performance in that Europa League final and also in the Coppa Italia final was phenomenal, truly. He's a really aggressive midfielder, in the similar vein of Casemiro, but he might be a little bit better of a passer. Casemiro was one of the best defensive mids in the world, right, when he was in his prime. I don't think Ederson is that, but he has the right blend of defensive attributes as well as getting the ball and pushing it forward. I really like how dynamic Ederson is. You pair him alongside more of a passing midfielder, Guimaraes, and then maybe Paquetá as the creative. I think Brazil could still have a very successful midfield.
I like that. I do. I think Douglas Luiz could also find his way into the midfield as well. He had a great season for Aston Villa. I'm going to get angry if I see Andres Pereira play any minutes in this tournament. What the hell is he doing here, bro?
Yeah, he should be purely
Fulham's finest. Andres Pereira, Man U United reject at one point.
Yeah.
Never liked his play style, bro.
It wouldn't make sense because in his position, you have Paquetá, but then you could do Endrick or Rodrigo, right? So it just wouldn't make sense if Pereira plays unless Dorival wants to go all-out attack and play no defensive mids, right? Yeah. Maybe they need a desperate goal. That's the only way Pereira should see the pitch is if Brazil are down and there's 10 minutes left.
I like the idea of Ederson, though. I like that.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm a big fan. He's never played either with Brazil. This could be a really good opportunity because he is in great form.
And going alongside that, I'm not going to say it fell off, but what a massive miss it is not having Neymar.
Dude, yeah.
We have to talk about that because he ended up not being healthy in time for the Copa America. It was in question for a really long time. Was it an ACL tear? I think it was.
Oh, yeah. It was like the worst thing you could get.
Worst thing you could get, and he just has not been able to recover quickly enough for the Copa America. He's missing out on this tournament, man. Yeah. That saddens me because he is the X factor, and he has always been the X factor for Brazil in these past 10 years with this play style. Incredible to watch, so fun to watch, and a character on the pitch, honestly.
Yeah.
You're going to miss that, but with that also comes the improvement of Vinny Jr., of Rodrigo, and of even a guy like Endrick, who offer a lot more excitement, a lot more capabilities now than they ever had before for this Brazilian team. Specifically, Vinny, who's playing at a Ballon d'Or level right now, winning the Champions League for Real Madrid. His level right now is incredibly high. I think very close to matching Neymar's peak. He's very close to it. And if he can continue that momentum in the Copa America, he now becomes a difference maker, knowing that he is the guy that they're going to assign that role to now because Neymar is missing. So it might be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think even though Neymar isn't here, I do think Brazil have enough quality and enough variation in quality as well to make up for the star that is Neymar. But just personally, I wish Neymar was here because it's in the U.S. You know, obviously so many thousands, tens of thousands of people would have gone to see him play. Yeah. I think it's a big miss for CONMEBOL, for CONCACAF, and for all football lovers around the world. It's a massive miss that unfortunately he got that injury way back in September and he will not be here. And it also sucks because he's 32, right? So this would have been his last Copa America where he could have gone off because the next time he's at a Copa America,
we don't know. Yeah, we don't know how
he'll be a completely different player. Like, he could be still just as good, but probably more of a passer than a dribbler, right?
Yeah.
So I just would have loved to see Neymar one more time in his prime at a Copa. Won't get to see it, but maybe we'll get to see it at the World Cup. That will be interesting. But just in general, maybe they lose Neymar in that wing position, but like you said, they make up for it with Vinicius. I look at the center back situation, and honestly, I like what I see because you have Gabriel from Arsenal, who's been incredible, one of the best center backs in the Premier League for the last 2 seasons. And then this season, the rise of Lucas Beraldo at PSG. I mean, I could see him starting alongside Gabriel, and personally, I'd probably start him over Marquinhos.
People like Bremer a lot.
Bremer's good, yeah. Bremer's good too, yeah.
They like Bremer a lot, but Marquinhos too. Yeah, the center back situation looks fine to me. And then goalkeeper Alisson.
Oh, yeah.
It's so solid, one of the top goalkeepers in the world.
Exactly.
They're finals contenders.
For sure.
They do have such a tougher path in comparison to Argentina, though. And I wonder how does that play an impact. I could see Argentina having such a simple path that either it improves their play or hurts them in the sense that they don't really truly face off against a competitive side unless you consider Ecuador that. Yeah. Whereas Brazil will have to get past Colombia in the group stage, then either Uruguay or USA in the quarterfinals, and then either Uruguay or USA in the semifinals. Yeah. That's 3 solid teams that they got to get by. And by then, if they beat those 3, then they'll have the confidence of like, okay, maybe now we can beat this Argentine side who's had a cakewalk to the final. That's the only aspect I can see here. But ultimately, they do have a much tougher path to the final, but it's there. They are the best team on paper in the sense that they do have the players to be able to pull off these big results and bring the trophy back home to Brazil. I'm just hesitant. I'm hesitant to give them that over Argentina.
Yeah, for sure. And when you look at the caps that a lot of these players have, it's in the low end. Like a lot of these guys have been in the Brazilian mold for a while, but I mean, outside of the obvious players, these guys haven't really featured for Brazil. So there's also an inexperience factor that's at play for Brazil going into this tournament. I hope that they use that to their advantage, as in use this tournament to forget about the World Cup qualifiers, to forget about 2022. Let's just have a clean slate here. Press the reset button. Let's go, boys. We're ballers. We got Vinny. We got Andrew. We have Martinelli, too, who could come off the bench. Like, there's so much talent. Let's just have fun. Let's ball out. Let's forget everything that has happened in the last 2 years.
Speaking of teams that are having fun and balling out, we got Colombia in this group.
Yeah.
Coached by Nestor Lorenzo, ranked number 12 in FIFA's rankings. One-time Copa America winners back in 2001. But now the hottest team in world football. They have not lost a game since March 2022. That is yet to be found out, though, today because they face off against the USA in an hour from now. Will that streak come to an end? We will see. By the time that this video is out, people will know. But hopefully that streak continues because Colombia is red hot in this moment. 3-win, third place in World Cup qualification with 3 wins and 3 draws, 12 points overall. And is Colombia, honestly, like this is what I was thinking about. When I think about Colombia right now and how good they've done, are they an example of the positives of missing out on a World Cup? Because they weren't here for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. And what they've done since missing out on that tournament and the honestly really bad display they had in World Cup qualifiers last time, I think has been really positive and really good. And I think they're a great example of how a team can improve after missing on a World Cup immediately after.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And when I look at this Colombian side, it really is just down to they've become very organized and very committed. Their chemistry has increased dramatically because when you look at the players that are being called up right now that are on this insane unbeaten streak, they've been here for a while. I think it really is just a matter of, all right, let's reset. We had such a bad World Cup qualifying cycle. We need to like basically have a come to God moment and be like, what are we? We're good footballers. And the incoming of Nestor Lorenzo has completely changed everything too. So for Colombia, I really do think it was a mental thing. Not having to worry about the World Cup and the stress that would come with a major moment like that, I do think is a blessing. So I agree. This is a perfect example of, fail early so you can prepare for the future better. This is Colombia, definitely. But they also remind me of the current versions of Austria and Hungary because this team, when you look at the starting 11,
same thing.
There's really not a lot of stars, man. Outside of Luis Diaz, the other players are either just very underrated at club level or they're just straight up nothing more than just very solid players. Yeah. But they come together and through the energy, the inspiration that they show out on the pitch, again, it's reminiscent of the Colombia that we saw back in 2014. So if you're Colombian, you got to be incredibly excited because I think even if they're not playing at their best, if they bring that energy, it's already proven to be the case. They can beat anybody.
It's crazy, bro, because Luis Diaz, I mean, he's great too, but I don't think he's a superstar. He's not a top 10 player in the world. Whereas like Gareth Bale for Wales he was a top 10 player in the world, but he just didn't. He had a much weaker team at the international level. But even with that, Colombia is able to find a way to get so many good results. Sinistera, I think, is really good. You have the rise of Jan Duran at Aston Villa, who had a really good finish to the end of the season. James Rodriguez is still here, bro. Crazy, man. He's still here.
He's an anomaly, man.
An anomaly, bro. International player only at this point, man.
Only?
Like he was born and bred for international games, and that is it. Jefferson Lerma, John Arias, Carlos Cuesta, Mojica, John Lucumi, Yasser Asprilla, and I mean the biggest missing piece that won't be here is Falcao. Falcao's route is finally done with the Colombian national team. But for me, when it comes to Colombia, bro, first question is, can they defeat Brazil or top the group? Do you think they have the capabilities to do that? Or is there a clear limitation?
No, I think they can. I think Colombia's form is too good to ignore. They are red hot. And Brazil have uncertainties, right? If this was the Brazil before the World Cup, even if Colombia were in this form, I would say no, they couldn't beat them. But with Brazil and given the form that they're in, I think Colombia can beat them. But I also think Brazil can beat Colombia.
And that's the thing about Colombia is that I have them as either going to the finals or crashing out in the quarters. They're that type of team this year. They're that type of team. I could see them losing to an Uruguay or USA in the quarters, or just making it all the way and going on like a magical Copa America run and lifting it for the first time in over 20 years. It's there and it's in the works for them. So I think that's kind of what makes this team so exciting. If you're a Colombian fan, is that it's kind of like Mexico, bro. At the peak of supporting Mexico, we were like, we could go deep. Yeah. We might not have the names or the star power as these other squads, but we've got the chemistry. We've got the run of form right now. If we believe in ourselves, we can pull off some incredible results. So that's what's exciting about Colombia, because I have them as a dark horse, and I have them as a team that could truly surprise basically anybody in this tournament.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually, because I have the same approach when it comes to what Colombia can achieve at this tournament. I think Colombia can go to the final, right? It will not be easy, but I think they have the energy and the talent truly to actually get there. Dark horse for sure. And actually, to round it out, I would say joining them, I do think Ecuador could get to the final as well, and I'll put the USA and Uruguay there as well. I think the only favorites is Argentina, and then Brazil's also a title contender.
So who gets last in this group? Paraguay or Costa Rica? You already know where I'm going to go.
I think it's tough, man. I do think it's tough, but I think you have to go Costa Rica, just simply given the horrendous form that they're in. Paraguay's not in good form either, though. Let's not try and settle that.
No, and Costa Rica has some positives. I like that they're playing so many young players now.
Completely new team now.
Oh my gosh, completely young players. Team. I saw that the World Cup qualifier versus St. Kitts, it just happened earlier this week. I liked what I saw from the starting lineup. Only 2 players 30 and older, and they were defenders. 6 players were 25 years old and younger, and they won that game 4-0. Obviously, it's St. Kitts, but still, I like what I'm seeing from Gustavo Alfaro. They're ranked number 52 in FIFA's rankings. Is that ultimately the most positive thing about Costa Rica, is the youth and just kind of this rebuilding period they're in?
That's it. Their only bright game over the last 18 months was that playoff against Honduras.
Ooh, that was a good one.
It was a good one,
Bangers.
But it was against Honduras. See what I'm kind of saying here? So it's like the only positive is purely trajectory. There's no results to look at to be like, oh, Costa Rica are on a rise or Costa Rica are doing well. Because all of their wins have been against very lower nations. When they play a team that's on their level or above them, Costa Rica have really struggled. That playoffs against Panama, they got killed 2 games, one in Costa Rica, one in Panama, and they really tried to win those matches. But that's the best that Costa Rica could achieve at the time. The only good thing is that they are completely wiping away the golden generation, right? They were still calling up like Celso Borges literally like a year ago. Like, it's crazy. Brian Ruiz just retired right at the last World Cup. Keylor Navas finally hanging up his boots for Costa Rica. He just played his last game in March.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's been a very slow process for Costa Rica to get over their golden generation. And it does make sense. They achieved something that no CONCACAF team has achieved in the modern era. So it makes complete sense. But this Costa Rica team now has to completely find out who they are in the modern era now. And they have a lot of young talent to really kind of pick from. Are they any good? Well, they got to start playing games together, man. This is a completely fresh team. They haven't proven anything yet. There's some European talent. There's a lot of Central American talent. I just don't think it'll be enough against Paraguay, and it definitely won't be enough against Colombia or Brazil.
No, they still got a young Joel Campbell coming through the ranks. This guy's still really young, bro. He's pretty young, 31 years old, man. I can't believe it.
Bro, he has... I forgot, but I think he has like close to 130 caps.
Jesus,
and he's 32. Man. It makes sense because it feels like he's been playing for 20 years.
Forever. But they have great young talent. Ugalde, I think, is one of the best promising prospects playing in Europe. Zamora, Madrigal, Orlando Gallo, Jalen Mitchell, and then Francisco Calvo is still getting minutes with the team. So.
Yeah, Calvo would be a good veteran play for them. Also, Julio Cascante, who plays for Austin FC, he will definitely be the pair alongside Calvo. They will provide the experience. Everyone else is just going to have to figure it out.
But yeah, I think that's ultimately the most positive thing I can say about Costa Rica. I do feel that they fall into that CONCACAF narrative, which this closes it out for me. I don't have a single CONCACAF team outside of the USA. And the thing is, I don't have a single CONCACAF team finishing in first place. And then I have the USA being the best version of that, getting second. But the rest, third and below, bro.
That's crazy.
I see CONCACAF as just really bad timing, ultimately. For as much as I love this tournament being here in the States, I think the timing hit these teams at a really bad time. Canada, it would have been great if it had happened 2 years ago for them. Mexico, 4 years ago for them. For all these other teams, I think it's just they're all obviously in a transitionary period. And Panama, I think maybe them 2 years from now would have been a better matchup for them. Yeah. Who knows? But I'm concerned for CONCACAF. I'm very scared. I think Conmebol is going to show out. And so I have Costa Rica getting fourth place in this group.
USA will make up for all of the CONCACAF's undoings by getting to the final. So don't worry about it.
That's the hope, bro. That's the hope. And the last team here to review is Paraguay, arriving into the tournament, coached by Daniel Guerrero, ranked number 56, currently 7th place in World Cup qualifiers with 1 win, 2 draws, and 3 losses. 2-time winners of the Copa America. Wikipedia says this, not me, but Paraguay can historically be considered South America's best of the rest, as they are ranked 4th in the Copa America's all-time table behind Conmebol's Big Three of Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil.
Damn. Okay, I'll take that.
Will you take the fact that the success was in the 40s and 50s? You'll take that.
Yeah, I'll still take it. I think didn't they get out of? It's not hard to get out of the group stage though when there's only 12 teams. But yeah, never mind. Anyway, yeah.
Now, am I tripping, or is a front line of Kaku, Sanabria, Almiron, and Enciso obviously the best thing Paraguay has going?
It's all they have going for them. But here's the problem: the rest of the team doesn't come anywhere close to those players technically on a technical perspective. So those players can't combine with anybody. So they have to resort to just physical play, choppy play. That's why Paraguay are so poor right now. Because even though they do have good players like Almiron and Kaku Romero, it doesn't mean anything if you can't combine with your fullbacks. It doesn't mean anything if you don't have a real striker to actually send crosses into. It doesn't mean anything if you can't play 1-2s with your midfield, because the rest of Paraguay simply doesn't cut it.
Paraguay's fullbacks are a pair of ways. That makes sense? Pair of ways. Better way. Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense.
It kind of makes sense.
That kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference that stood out to me was just how good the front line looks, bro. If everyone's healthy and everyone's attending the match too, that's the thing. Julio Enciso was out for a majority of the season. He's now getting back into health. I wonder how much confidence the coach will give him. Miguel Almiron, does he have a role in this team right now? Because he didn't play much from Newcastle this year as well.
He has a role, but it won't be a truly impactful one. He'll be a nuisance for defenses, but he's not going to be the guy that you just like swing it to, like you could with Luis Diaz, for example, right? Yeah. He's going to be doing his best, but that's my point. Like, Paraguay have good players, but even them at their best, not that good. Let's be completely honest. When you compare it to Colombia, when you compare it to Brazil, right? Even the USA. So, sure, Paraguay have good players. I think their best assets are in the center back positions. You have Omar Alderete, starting center back for Getafe, and Gustavo Gomez, the captain for Palmeiras, right? And he's won title after title in Brazil. That's why Paraguay are able to keep most games tight, though, because their defense is so tight and they're more keen to defend than attack, honestly. That's their best asset. It's their defense. They've only conceded 3 goals in qualifying, so that's pretty good for 6 games, 3-goal concession. That's actually excellent. The problem is they have 0, and I mean 0 offense.
Kaku, no love for Kaku. AFC Champions
I love
League
that man.
winner, Kaku, bro. No love
He
there.
just can't do it alone. That's the problem. Like
I have a little bit more belief.
He can't
I
do
have a little
it.
more belief in this Paraguay side.
He can try. They can try.
They're getting third, but I'm just saying maybe they're doing a little bit more convincing way than what you think.
They're going to keep it tight, but I don't consider that convincing, because for me, convincing is, you know, getting a lot of chances on goal. And if you lose that way, then I'd be like, you know what, great game. But for Paraguay, it really is park the bus and just hope Almiron or Kaku can do something crazy. And I just don't respect that style of football.
3-0 win against Costa Rica. What does that do?
Okay, yeah. No,
Yeah?
that's doable.
2-0 win against Costa Rica. What does that do?
That's also that's more like, I think 3 is a lot for Paraguay, but 2 is very doable, I say, against Costa Rica.
Will we consider that convincingly getting third? What do we mean?
They're definitely gonna get third.
No,
bro.
I know, but I'm saying the way they get it matters to me, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm saying
I need them. No, I'm not even looking at the Costa Rica game. I'm looking at the Brazil-Colombia games.
they tie one of those two.
That would be nice.
Okay, that would get you.
That would get me. I'd be like, oh shit, I actually underestimate. Even if they finish third, if they tie Colombia or tie Brazil, any of them, they tie them, I would say I underestimated them.
What if they lost by 1 goal, played a tie, 90th minute winner from Vinny, 90th minute winner from Luis Diaz?
They would have to have several shots on goal.
I'll take that.
Tight wins don't do it for me.
But
when it comes to Paraguay, it doesn't do it for me.
They hit the post a couple times in the game.
Even one time, I'll take that, and they lose 1-0, I'll take that.
You'll take that.
I'll take that as they did better than I thought they would.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, I'll remember that. Yeah,
I'll hold you to that. The Paraguayan bet that we have going then.
Okay,
Let's see.
yeah.
Let's see how it goes. But ultimately, I agree. Third place for Paraguay is all I see out of them. Paraguayans, let me know. Let me know what we're missing from your team or what you think will happen in this tournament for Paraguay. Will you guys achieve a ceiling much more higher than we're projecting, or do you all see a third place finish, maybe even worse than fourth? And so that means that for Group D, we have Brazil in first, Colombia in second, Paraguay in third, and Costa Rica in fourth. Let us know your thoughts on Group D. Who do you have winning this group? Is it Brazil? Is it Colombia? Is it fucking Costa Rica? Who is it? Let us know in the comments down below. And that rounds it out for our Copa America preview.
Dude.
We will be back very, very soon with live streams and post-match reactions for every single one of these games. So make sure to comment, like, and subscribe on this video and join the Give and Go community for what's going to be an insane summer. Until next time, guys, peace.